Yeah.
Right.
You know, I mean, sort of like only something can come into being if we create it. Yeah. Like when you
Right.
write a story, the characters come into being because you create them. Yes.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. And even if you write about people that you still create them as you see them. Yeah.
Yes, you're right.
So anything that we create, we must be the creators. And if we are the creators, then it's obvious that we are God. I mean, if you think about this, everything that we do, we create. You know, for you to have a child, you have created the possibility that you want the child. Yeah. Okay. If you want
Mm.
a car, you've created the possibility of wanting the car. If you want a job, it's the same thing. You create the possibility. Yeah. And also the other side of the coin is that, and this is what people have real problems with, is that if you have any disasters and problems, essentially you've created them yourself.
Yes. Well, that's what that guy who rang me yesterday said to me about creating that when I was, blamed by my mother and hit by her, that and she locked me in a cupboard, that I told the universe that I was not actually human and that I was worthless. And by telling them that with that belief, then it tells the universe to treat you in that way.
Well, well, the thing is if you've created the universe, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
like, for example, if we say now is gone, yeah, okay.
Mm-hmm.
If you've created this state, then you've created everything, okay. So
Mm-hmm.
any hell that you've gone through, you've created. Any heaven you're experiencing, you're also creating that as well. I mean, this is why like the Greek and the Indian pantheon is so very, very difficult to understand. Like I said, I think it's the stories we are left with have been so corrupted from what they originally meant that we really have no idea what they're about. Seriously, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And it's but like I think the closest we've probably got to it is maybe Chinese, because they still have records that go right back. Yeah. And
Mm-hmm.
they're I don't even pretend to understand their gods. I wouldn't even know where to start with their gods. But essentially, once again, they have a pantheon. The Indians have a pantheon, the Greeks have a pantheon, the Vikings have a pantheon, the Celts, the Druids, everything has a pantheon. And then Christianity turned up. Well, before Christianity, you had Akhenaten saying the same
Yeah.
thing. There's only one God. Well, if you create everything, then yes, there is only one God. Yeah. However,
Mm-hmm.
all the other societies have a pantheon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And this pantheon goes way back. I mean, sort of like if you look at the African religions, which are probably pretty close to like a unchristianized religion in Africa, yeah, that once
Mm-hmm.
again that they are a pantheon, yeah, okay.
Mm.
However,
So what?
when
So what does that mean? Why do you believe that Christianity told us we've only got one God? Why do you believe that occurred?
because that's what they did. They turned up. They said there's only one God, and all the other gods are evil. They actually they said that in the beginning, yeah, which is
Right.
that's what they promoted. They promoted at the time. I mean essentially. I mean, if you're going to be very cynical about it, I think why the pantheon was destroyed is because the pantheon splits people up. Yeah. Okay. You get a follower of Zeus. You get a follower of Heraclitus. you get a follower of Kronos, you get a follower of Eros. So you have all these people who are split up, yeah, and it's very, very difficult to control. Where if you put them under one belief system, it makes them easier to control. And Christianity is one belief system, and their belief system is that there is only one God. Yeah. So
and it always seems like Christianity always seems like it's there to sort of get you under manners, you know, like, oh, everybody do this, everybody do that, but then people that are elite, they don't do it, and all that help your neighbor. There's none of that really that exists anymore. I mean,
well, I mean, well, Marx described it as the opium for the masses, didn't he? Yeah. He classed religion as opium for the masses, but once again, you know, Marx is a very complicated character. You know, very few people understand that Marx, you know, was a practicing Jew. Yeah. Okay. So, you know, sort of like, you know, he certainly wasn't Christian by any stretch of the imagination. So, you know, like I said, you know, it's very difficult to understand the pantheon with the 21st century brain, because we've had Christianity put on us and we're made to believe it. Not only do we make to believe it, the Christians also changed quite a lot of the literature. I mean, you know, for example, the Nag Hammadi texts, for example, yeah. When they came out, I mean, they still haven't translated all of them because they're absolutely frightened to translate them, because essentially they were before Christianity, yeah, and they don't want people to understand what it was like before Christianity, because they don't want people breaking the mold and moving away from this one God, one ruler, one whatever, because it makes things really, really difficult. Yeah, I mean, predominantly, I think it's pretty much 50% of the world, or more or less, are Christian. Yeah, and they tend to be Western as well. You know, which is you know, which is telling.
It doesn't really mean anything. I think it's a sticking plaster that they put on to tell themselves that they're good people.
I don't think it's even that obvious. I mean, the Abrahamic religions, which is sort of Judaism, the Mohammedanism, and Christianity, they're all pretty tribal, really. The other thing as well is that they're not really for this time and century. Yeah, you know, you know, sort of like, if you look at a lot of these religions, you know, they're still very much stuck in what we consider, you know, sort of like, you know, first millennia belief systems. Yeah, you know, and I find that the most worrying of everything is the fact that, like, we don't have gods that progress who we are. Yeah, you know, it seems that they seem it seems that they're stuck in this ideology, which is really bizarre.
And they make us stuck as well.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, like, you know, and I think this is the real problem. You know, like, when we look at something like a pantheon, I think, in all honesty, we've no idea what the pantheon is, because it's been completely thwarted to sort of like a different ideology, and because of that, I think it leaves an emptiness inside of us, and that's why a lot of people, myself included, you know, are always searching for something which seems more representative of who we are, as opposed to who we're supposed to be told we are. Maybe the pantheon's a better idea, because you can actually choose who you want to be. Yeah. Whereas if you're told, no, I have to follow Jesus, yeah, well,
Mm.
maybe Jesus is not quite your personality. Yeah. And then they say, well, if you're not following Jesus, then you're following Satan. Yeah. And of course, once again, if we're looking at the pantheon and we're looking at how gods are created, most people forget that Satan, or the adversary, was created by God. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah. Yes, of course.
Yeah, so if he's created by God, if you worship Satan, by default you worship God. Yeah, so it's you know, they get you either way. Yeah. Okay. You know,
Yeah.
like, you know, they describe the adversary as the Antichrist. Yeah. Okay. So it's the Antichrist, it's anti to Jesus. Yeah.
Yes.
So, you know, I agree with Marx in that level. It's a very good way to control people, in a nutshell.
Mm.
And I think that that's why we don't have pantheons anymore. And if we do have pantheons, I'm not sure if they're anything like the original pantheons in reality. Like I said, even the Hindu pantheon was virtually destroyed by the English and the Portuguese. You know, so it's very, very difficult to really understand what the pantheon means. I mean, that's from my viewpoint. I mean, I'm sure somebody out there will say, "Oh, no, there's definitely a way to understand it." But myself, I don't see it. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, it's hard. It would be nice to give praise to a God, but it's all mixed up and it doesn't empower us. We don't know where to connect to spiritually. I mean, I believe sometimes that I journey to you know, to an upper world and a lower world, but how do I actually know that it's not the jinn creating that for me? And if it's the jinn, is it then actually
Who
evil? I
created
mean,
who created the jinn?
yeah, and are they evil? I mean, are they all evil? But I guess they're not all evil. But yeah, we don't know how to get out of this little ball we're stuck in. And even if we did get out, we don't know what's out there in that great sort of galaxy, do we? We don't even know if there's a father out there. And I don't feel like being out there on my own without like mum and a god like mum and dad. I mean, or but maybe we should realize that we are that god, and you know that we will. I don't know how it is. There should at least be spiritual books explaining all this with not a load of guff in them.
Uh, yeah,
You know.
there's there are religious books that do explain it.
Like what?
Uh, like I think the easiest way to understand it would be maybe Siri Nisarigada. I don't. Have you read I Am That?
I
I've,
knew you were going to say that book. No, I haven't read it yet.
yeah, that's really good. I mean, just to give you an idea of how Christianity even changed the religion of Jesus's time. This is the Our Father. Okay, this is the original Aramaic translation of Our Father. Okay, I'll read it to you. O cosmic birther of all radiance and vibration, soften the ground of our being and carve out a space within us where your presence can abide. Fill us with your creativity so that we may be empowered to bear the fruit of your mission. Let each of our actions bear fruit in accordance with our desire. Endow us with the wisdom to produce and share what each of us being needs to grow and flourish. Unite the tangled threads of destiny that bind us as we release others from the entanglement of past mistakes. Do not let us be seduced by that which would divert us from our true purpose, but illuminate the opportunities of the present moment. For you are the ground, the fruitful vision, the birth, the power, and the fulfillment. All is gathered and made whole once again, and so it is. That's the original Our Father. Okay.
Oh, that's really nice.
like I said, and it changed into something completely different. Yeah, after it was put into Greek, it changed into something, something that we don't even recognize. So, I think this is the problem, understanding what really is our spiritual roots. Yeah, because if they destroyed the pantheon, they can destroy anything. Yeah, and I think it's up to us to really find who we are. Yeah, okay, and I don't think we're going to find it through something which has been forced on us. Yeah, okay. The other book we could read is the Adavahuta. Have you heard of that?
Barrahuta?
The
Could you say it again?
Avadahuta.
No, I haven't heard that.
Yeah, I'll send you the PDF. That's worth reading.
Thank you.
Yeah, essentially that's once again that's that's a very ancient Hindu text which
Can I have the I Am That PDF as well?
I think I've sent it to you before.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I did years ago.
I thought
Yeah, you didn't read it. I said to you, have you read it? And you said no. Essentially,
okay, sorry.
right, yeah, the Avaduta is certainly yeah, it's more or less what the book I Am That is based on. So I would strongly recommend it to anybody who wants to sort of find who they are or what religious path they want to follow. But yeah, I mean to conclude, I mean the pantheon per se is it's incredibly complicated. I don't believe it was mythology. I think people followed it. I think people still follow it. I know witches who still follow it today. So yeah, but
so what do you think will happen when you come out of your body, when you die?
I think depending on what type of life you have, you're reincarnated. Yeah. Okay. Every religion taught reincarnation, included Christianity. I don't know if you knew that.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, that's why they burnt witches. They burnt witches so they wouldn't reincarnate.
Really?
Yeah, that's the truth. Yeah. Yeah. Most religions talk about reincarnation. Okay.
Hang on a sec. Why? Hang on a sec. Why didn't they want witches to reincarnate?
Well, because they didn't want to come back again as witches. Okay.
Why not? Why not?
Well, because they wanted rid of them, didn't they? Yeah. Okay.
To see.
Now, interestingly, I've just done some research recently. After a war, there are more male babies born than female babies.
Right.
That's interesting. Yeah. And it's actually called returning soldier syndrome.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. After there's been a major war, most of the babies are male. And that would kind of support reincarnation. That's
do you
a
believe
fact.
that the Nazis? Do you believe that the Nazis were reincarnated witches? Because that's what Himmler. Apparently, Himmler thought that. That's why he had a SS Witches division.
I've no idea. I mean the thing is once again sort of like the Nazis spent millions trying to find the original, if you like, religion per se. Yeah. I mean but they believed in all sorts. I mean, they believed in something called a Vilna. Yeah. Okay. I mean, sort of like, and from that we got Maria Orsic. I mean, you know about Maria Orsic, yeah?
Yes.
I mean, Maria Orsic, apparently she used to go into trance and talk to higher dimensional beings and bring through the design of aircraft and military equipment, which was really, really advanced. Yeah. So, I mean, once again, I don't think we'll ever know what the true story is about this, but it's absolutely fascinating. I think through what I've read, I mean, the amount of money the Nazis spent trying to get all this sort of like ancient religion iconography. You know, for example, they found the spear of destiny. Yeah. You know, the spear that's supposed to have penetrated Christ. You know, they got the spear of destiny. I mean, they were certainly fascinated with the occult, and they certainly practiced quite a lot of occultism, definitely. Whether or not they were reincarnated witches, I have no idea. But certainly they were very, very much involved in what we consider to be the occult. Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
But whether or not they're reincarnated witches, I don't know.
So,
Sorry?
so you think that when you come out of your body, you'll be immediately reincarnated? So say if you weren't reincarnated, where would you go then?
I don't think we're immediately reincarnated. There has been some fairly convincing reincarnated studies. For example, there was a woman who was born in England, and she said, and she could remember a past life. This was after the war. Yeah, she was like born just after the war, and she could remember a past life. And she said, "I'm really worried about my children." And she worked out that she was born in Ireland, and they took her back to Ireland, and they took her to the house, and the house that she was born in was now destroyed. And luckily, they found her children, but all her children were 60. Yeah, okay. And she spoke to the children, and the children recognized what she was saying as what their mother had told them. Yeah, okay. I admit there's probably 50 or 60 years before since they'd seen their mother, but they were pretty much convinced that their mother had returned. And I believe that when we reincarnate, it's not at the same time, because could you imagine how confusing that would be if you're reincarnated and you remember your past life? Yeah. And, just say you were married to somebody and you're reincarnated, and 20 years later, well, you'd want to go and see your wife who was still there. And I believe that's why there is like 50, 60, 70 years difference in the time that the body is reincarnated. And this is probably where the purgatory thing continues. But it very much depends, once again, on what you think time is. Is time linear or is it spiral? There are so many questions to ask, really. If time is linear, then the 60 years makes sense. If time is spiral, then perhaps we choose our own reincarnation, and it doesn't matter what time in history it is. I think this is the problem. We don't know enough about what we are, what the universe is, or anything. There are some incredible minds out there. I mean, all the philosophies talk about the universe being spiral. So if the universe is spiral, then surely time is spiral. And if time is spiral, we do reincarnate, then we choose how we reincarnate and when we reincarnate. I would have thought.
Yeah.
Sorry, I've been reading too much. I know.
No, that's okay. No, it's good. But if you floated out and you came out of yourself, would you, since you believe the calf, which you said the world as a jinn is like round the earth, do you believe that the jinn control the upper and the lower world of the tree?
Well, I think it very much depends on what you think the jinn is. Yeah. Okay. If you believe the jinn are entities that are outside of you, then under that philosophy, there is the calf, there is a separate world of the jinn. Yeah. Okay. However, if you believe that you are more Brahman and you create everything, then you choose what your destiny is, both in life and both in death. Yeah. I mean, it's like we are told that time exists, but most of what science is saying to us, time doesn't exist on how we expect it to behave. Yeah, we don't know if we live for 60 years or 1,000 years. Okay, and if that's the case, we don't know how long we're dead for, how long we're alive for, or in fact, are we alive now? Is this just a projected dream? This is what these are the questions that, like, mystics have been asking for thousands and thousands of years. Because the sad fact is, when I say now has gone. There is no permanence in our existence. Everything is transient. Everything is moving. Yeah. You think how many things have changed around you? Yeah. In your lifetime. The only constant is yourself. Yes. You think how many people have died. You think how many streets have changed. You think how many cities have changed. You think how the world has changed. You only know they've changed because you are constant. Yeah. However, you cannot be constant with yourself. If I say now, there is no now, because it's gone. But I am the only constant in a world that is transient. So if I'm the only constant in a world that is transient, then I must be part of this world's creation. Do you agree or disagree?
Yeah, true. I understand. Yeah.
So, these are the questions you've got to ask yourself. I don't think you've got to ask yourself, does this exist or does that exist? I think we have to ask ourselves, how do we exist?
Do you think the chanting helps our minds get free to see that? For some reason, that Sanskrit and the chanting.
Well, once again, every religion has its own form of chanting, doesn't it? I mean, if you're into Catholicism, you have the rosary, don't you? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you have people sitting the rosary. If you're into in the Muslim religion, you have the menorah. You have if you have to, but in Buddhism, you have the the holy beads. Yeah. Like there is something with the chanting. Perhaps the chanting is a way of defining our existence. But once again, once you have chanted, the now has gone. Yeah. So maybe the chanting is a way of connecting with the higher mind. But like I said, the important question is what are we? Yeah. Okay. And if we are eternal and we are constant, then the only answer we can come up with is that we are God, which is quite interesting. But like I said, the Hindus and quite a lot of... Sorry?
There's a book, isn't there? Poison. There's a book called Poison by Chris Woods, I think, which is a teenager story, but that's all about this girl who goes on a journey and finds out about the Hierophant, and is looking for the Hierophant who creates the universe to get him to change something. But then she arrives in a room where there's a mirror and she realizes she's the Hierophant. It's quite good, actually.
Well, yeah, I mean, all the philosophies. I mean, Bruce Lee, One of the reasons why apparently people think he was killed is that he wrote something of a story of the ultimate fighter for a book, and when he got to the book was full of mirrors. Yeah. So, it's the same thing that instead of him being the Hierophant, he was the ultimate, he was the god. But essentially, when he looked for the answer in the book, the answer was himself reflected back at him with the mirrors. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, all this ties into, books like the Avaduta and stuff like this. I mean, these philosophies have been around for millennia, but they're not taught. We're taught, oh, you're going to die, you're going to meet mummy and daddy in heaven, and that's it. But remember, mummy and daddy in heaven was only introduced maybe in the sort of like 1700s. Before that, it was reincarnation. So
I'd
yeah,
like a mummy and daddy in heaven, though. I mean, I've really bought into that. I just really want to go up there to the arms of an all-loving father and just get my cuddle.
I think you do connect with the eternal love. Yeah, I mean, all the religions talk about an eternal force of love within the universe. Yeah. So you do get that. I mean, when I was in India, I took a herb that killed me for I think it was 2 minutes. Yeah. Okay. That was nerve-wracking. I met a shaman, a Shay woman, and she I've known her for years, and she said, "Do you want to take the herb?" And I said, "What does the herb do?" And she said, "The herb kills you." Yeah. And then it wears off and you come back to life again. Yeah. Okay.
Is this ayahuasca?
No, this is something different. I took it.
Okay, sure.
I took it and I died physically. It was really shocking and painful to die. Yeah. It's not what they tell you in the books. All right. It's really quite painful. Because your body is fighting to be alive all the time. Yes. Okay. And to die, you have to surrender yourself to die. And I was at that stage where I could no longer fight, and I had to surrender. And when I did it, I went into this realm, this state of consciousness that I've never been in before. And I was in this consciousness probably for about, I don't know, maybe a minute, minute, 30 seconds. And then I came back to the earth. And the first thing that I did when I came back to earth was I put my hand on the ground to check that the earth was solid, because I didn't believe it was solid anymore. Because 1 minute everything around me was solid, and next minute everything around me was transient. But during that moment, I felt an extreme love, an extreme Godhead love. I felt that. Yeah. Okay. And when I came back to terra firma, it was very strange, because you give up this eternal power of love. So it's quite a weird experience, to put it bluntly. So yeah, I did die, and I died for about, I think it was 2 minutes. And when I came back, it was it completely reshaped how I thought about everything. Seriously, it's for me, it was nothing like what I'd read. Essentially, the body, your soul leaves the body. It's really quite painful. You go into an ecstatic state where everything is just love. And when I came back, it was like being on a love hangover. It was like your first date when you were a teenager. Everything was totally amazing, but after the while, it wore off and it wore off and it wore off. But there was no Jesus, there was no gods, there was a universal consciousness that I connected to, but that may have only been me. But at least I've done it. Yeah.
Mm.
So I don't know if that's helped you.
Yeah, it has. Thank you.
You know, sort of like, I told it to a physicist friend of mine, and he said, "Where did you end up?" I said, "I ended up in a kind of a universe." And he said, "Yeah, that makes sense." So there you go. Because I didn't recognize anything in the universe. I saw planets, I saw everything, but there was nothing that I recognized. I was trying to sort of like look for Saturn. I was trying to look for Jupiter. I saw planets, but like nothing looked familiar. But that's maybe because the universe is so vast, and when we go back to the universe, we never know where we go back to the universe. Yeah.
So where do you think, if you'd have carried on floating around past the planets, where would you have ended up if you hadn't have reincarnated?
I think that you just go back to being the power in the universe. I think.
Mm.
I think, you know, essentially everything is light. I mean, the scientists say that we are made of stardust. Yeah. Okay. And
Mm.
what we eat is converted into energy, which of course is light. How we think is light. So I think when we die, we go back into the light form, and that light form is what makes up the universe. And I think that makes pretty much sense to me. That because we are beings of light, we go back to what is the source, and the source is, of course,
Interesting.
eternal light. Yeah, I d- I think all the stories that we tell each other, they're just sort of fairy tales, because realistically we are energy, aren't we?
Yeah.
And if we're energy, then the the final denominator of the energy, of course, is light. And if we are light, then we just go back to the source. I mean, this is what the Egyptians have said as well. I mean, the Egyptian pantheon deals with this. So it's we when we die, I mean, this is what happens to us. We return to what is our basic format, and our basic format is energy, and energy is indestructible. So therefore, we are eternally energy. And if we are eternally energy, then that probably ties into the Brahman theory that we create mostly everything.
Mm. Yeah, I think I agree with that lately. Yeah.
So, but it all comes from a belief system, and like what we think today is of stories was only a couple of thousand years ago people lived by. Yeah. But like I said, unfortunately, because of indoctrination and because of different sort of interpretations, I don't think we've got any idea what the real, what the real religion is, or what the pantheon means, etc., etc. But the one thing that we can be certain of is that we are beings of light. I'm absolutely sure of that.
Mm.
And maybe that
You're
light has all
right.
the aspects of what we've been talking about.
Yes, that's a good point. Thank you. Well, thank you for coming on. I know we're running out of time in the studio, and you've been a great guest, Brian. I'm sure everyone will enjoy your wisdom there, and I've certainly enjoyed it. And thank you very much for coming on.
Okay, right. Thanks for having me. Have a good day, and
Thanks you.
have a good weekend. Bye.